Hi, this is Maritza from Maritza Concepcion Intuitive Consultants. I am a psychic life coach. The following is a video from my live show from an anonymous caller. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Our SG and state is North Carolina.
Okay, and what is your question?
Okay, okay, where do you see, like, my life going?
Okay, sure. Give me a second here. Okay, give me a second. And where do I see North Carolina's life going? Second. Okay, give me another second here. Where do I see Sam's life going? Next couple of years, let's see here. Give me a second. Past, present, and future. Okay, so what I see here is in the past you were driven, you know where you're going, you had this whole mindset of where you want to see yourself in the next 5 years after you complete school. I see that you were well on your way to creating this future that you wanted. And the present, it tells me that you're thinking about moving, and you're moving also into a direction of I think you're moving towards another city, but it's almost like there's a job there for you, or there's something or someone waiting for you there. I see that in 4 months, I think in 4 months I see that changing, the whole scenario changing. And I see that you will be successful. That I'm not doubting. It's almost like I think that your life, your personal life is what concerns you more than just your career goals. Am I right in saying that?
I guess it's like equivalent.
Okay.
What do you, see? I don't know. Yeah, what do you see with the personal life?
I think, okay, so there's a lot of work that needs to be done, first of all. However, I think that you both will be in a better space as far as maturity wise. I think that there's a shift there. Okay, so once you graduate, you're gonna be this. Oh, okay, I'm a graduate, so I need to set this up. I have this job waiting for me. I have this other new life I'm gonna create for myself, and I see that eventually you guys will work some of the things out. But I don't want you to do it without having a serious conversation first. Does that make sense? Like, there's things that need to be said before you can move on. Okay? But I see some good things, because it's almost like all this space in between that you guys have right now works. It's stressful because you're not sure what he's doing and he's not sure what you're doing. You go on with your life, he goes on with his life, but I see it kind of coming together, but only after you're settled in your new home, in your new place, I should say, because not going to be a home right away. It's a home first, your new job, you're establishing yourself in this new job, in this new surroundings. So
Do you see it happening then? Like, do you see it happening? Or?
Yes, I do. However, there's a lot of work to be done at first. Because if this work doesn't happen, that can't happen. Does that make sense? Because you can't you can't you can't build on a relationship that's already on shaky grounds. You have to build the foundation first so that it can last longer. Does that make sense? And by having conversations with this person and telling him what you're expecting and what you're going to do on your behalf, and things will change, because things change all the time. People say, oh, people don't change. Your person does change. Your foundation doesn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you think that it's like meant to be, or like for the best, or no?
I think you guys make a good couple, but right now it's not. Does that make sense? Right now you're not good for each other because you have to grow to a certain degree before you can come together.
Okay.
But this conversation has to happen first. You have to fix what's wrong.
Do you think I should initiate it, or wait for the other person to? Like, who do you think should, at this point, needs to do more of the work?
You both do. But if you want to initiate it, be ready for, before you initiate it, I want you to make sure that you know what you want. You know the ultimate, just like when you were in high school and you're in college, almost graduating, you knew what you wanted, right? And you visualized that and you were working towards it, right? That's the same attitude I need you to take with this relationship if you really want it. I almost kind of feel like you want it and then you don't. You want it, then you don't. Does that make sense?
I do. Let me go. Sorry, hold on. Sorry. I do, but at the same time, like, I feel like I've been doing so much effort and the other person hasn't. So, like, you don't want to be, like, the only person doing effort, you know?
Right. I would say give it one more college try, as they say. You know, I think that you long for him and you want this to work. So you have to ask yourself the question of, is this worth it for me? And then make your choice. But
is it, like, in his head, from what you see right now, do you think it's, like, worth it? And do you think that, or do you think for him that he's just, like, let's move on, like, it's done?
You know, I think right now you guys both think moving on is the answer because it's so much work. But I think that once you give this is what I'm saying to you. You have to evaluate where you are, evaluate what you want to happen, and then in the middle of those two things, I need you to have a conversation with him. And if he's for it, he's for it. If he's not, I need you to move on. Does that make sense?
Why do I need to have the conversation? If he wants it, can't he have it? At this point, like, I've said what I needed to say.
Well, because you can't force someone to have a conversation that he doesn't want to have.
Why should I? If he doesn't want to have it, why do I need to have it?
Because he needs to know that you think it's worth it. And you need to know for yourself that, is this going to be worth it for me in this last conversation?
For me, right now, like, I'm just kind of, I'm, like, done and, like, moved on. Do you see, like, someone else in the future, or?
There's always a potential. Let's see here.
Or do you see this person as, like, the one?
Okay, so with this situation, okay, and I'll tell this to anybody. You can create your own reality. And what reality you're creating is that you may want this guy or you may not want him in some days. So moving on for you is a no-brainer right now because it's so hard to keep it together. So with that being said, your emotions are like this, like the ocean. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. You need to figure out what it is that you want out of a mate, right? And become those things that you just write them down without thinking about it. Just like kind of just whatever comes out of your brain and just write it down and say, this is what I want him to be. I want him to be kind. I want him to be obliging. I want him to do this.
Like all of those qualities, but then it's like not working out. So like maybe it's just not meant to be, you know. Sorry, but continue. I keep interrupting you.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I get where you are. What you need to do is become those things so you can attract that thing. Does that make sense? Like, you want a guy that's giving, so you need to be giving. But you need to be good with yourself first before this person can come in, because this is the way your relationships are going to go, up and down, up and down, up and down, if you don't internally fix what's wrong within yourself. Because I think that you don't want to be alone, and you don't want to do these things by yourself because you have such a promising future, and you want to share these things with somebody. So I need you to start telling yourself that, am I really truly gonna go with this person or not? And then go with them.
Can you tell me that answer?
Yes.
Like, for me, I just like don't want to anymore, just because I think like I've put in my like 100%.
Okay.
But I don't think that like, and then I think like what more? Like I don't think an extra 10% is like even appreciated. You know.
Okay. Well, then you answered your own question. Then you need to move on, because guess what? The problem with you moving on is that sometimes you want him and sometimes you don't. And today you don't want him, and then a week from now you're going to think about him and say, oh, I want him. I miss him. This is where...
What do you I know, it's crazy how right you are. So do you think that he feels the same way too, or no?
He does, and then he doesn't. He's just like you. That's why you guys can't come to a head, because when you want it, he doesn't. When he wants it, you don't. So you have to kind of clash and meet face to face and say, hey, let's have a powwow. Let's see if this is going to work or not. And then at that point, you will have your answer. Because
So do you think that it's worth me initiating that again when I've initiated so many talks like that, and then he just like doesn't want to have it? You know, so like, do you think that it's worth initiating another one, or do you think that that will kind of make it run away even more and make me look kind of like crazy?
No, you know what? I think when we have us women are emotional creatures. When we have all these emotions that boil up inside of us, have that conversation, get it out of your system, and give it one last try. And if it doesn't go the way you want it to go, then you know it's time to move on. Because the reason why I say have one last try is because you keep going back and forth. And I know you kind of love him, but you don't love what he's doing to you now.
But do you think that he does? Like, do you see, like, from what you can see? Because I know what I feel, but can you feel what he feels? Like, can you see what he feels? You know?
Yeah. He has passion for you, but he's sitting back, like, I'm gonna see what happens. No, you can't just sit there and wonder and let whatever happens. He doesn't know how to communicate directly. He takes communication as confrontation. Okay, so he does have, I'll tell you, he does have feelings for you, but at the end of the day, sometimes that's not enough. He's not willing, if he's not willing to put in the work that it takes to keep this together, then at the end of the day, it's time for you to also move on.
So why do you think he likes me? Like, I don't know. Do you see that? I don't know if this is too much, but... No,
listen, you want to get into his psychology, that's a long session right there. However, what I can tell you is...
how I feel, you know, but...
Right. What I can tell you is this. At one point, you guys felt like you were soulmates.
Yeah.
Okay. Then he moved on and did whatever he did, wherever he went, and excluded you. That's when it fell apart. Right?
No, that's 100% right. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm telling you is that he does care about you, but at the end of the day, he's just like you. He wants you one week, and the other week he cannot stand you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that's so bad. That's not, like, good. That means it's not meant to be, right? You know, if someone, like...
You know what? At this point, okay, you want me to give you a straight answer, but the funny thing about that is this. Seeing that you guys are going this way, back and forth like a yo-yo, you know? I think, again, the one last conversation you have with him,
I
You
feel
say,
so annoying giving it though because
listen,
last week.
but you're doing it by phone. You need to do it face to face.
I don't
Because,
know if he's even gonna want to do it face to face because
well, then
just last week
there's your,
yeah. So there's no point.
there's
Yeah.
no point. Then
Mhm.
he doesn't think it's worth it.
Why doesn't he think it's worth it?
Because he doesn't want to put in the work.
Is it,
He's just sitting back like
because of
this.
me?
Okay.
Like, did I do something wrong?
I'm sorry?
Did I do something wrong? I don't know. Did I ask for too much or something?
At first you were, and then you didn't. You were on your own. You were independent. Does that make sense? It's kind of like you depended on him a lot emotionally at first, but then you kind of backed off because here's this girl. She's got her whole life, she knows exactly where she's driving her car to as far as her future goes. And you became this other person. Does that make sense? So
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
it's not a bad thing. You're growing and evolving. He just didn't grow and evolve with you.
Okay, so he doesn't.
Okay.
So why doesn't he like from what you see?
He still cares about you. Okay. I just don't think that he wants to put the effort to working it out. But just to stop you right there, we've been on the phone for a minute and I only give one card out.
Oh,
And
okay,
if you want to schedule a private consultation, I'm more than happy to do that for you. But right now, I think that you should concentrate on what you want, where you are, what you want, and how you're going to get there in the middle part of it. And if it's with him, it's with him. If it's not, it's not. I think you guys are both wishy-washy with this relationship. I think you should just have that one conversation and then call it quits. Then say, okay, we're going to move on or we're not. And then you stand on your ground and not go back and forth anymore. Just like a class. If you take a course, you have to go through the course in order to move on, right? So take this course and take it to the end. And if it's the end, then you know that you have to move on. I don't see you having a problem meeting other people. You're very outgoing, so I don't think that that's going to be a problem. But for now, I thank you for calling.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you're interested in a private consultation, you can contact me on any social media links in the description box.